It always comes to this. More nice. Here to do a tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off the second pass on my arm, the red out. So that's fully healed now. It healed really easy. There was no trouble at all. You can see the red is basically the same color, but just more solid and brighter, slightly brighter. So it's more like the stuff up here and on my neck, whereas down here is darker. It's got more of a kind of purple look to it. Those lines that I showed are pretty well gone now. There's some spots here that we're going to smooth out, as I mentioned before, but those streaks that I've been showing off quite on purpose are gone now, because other than this little spot here, still healing, that was just damaged tissue. I showed that off on purpose because a lot of the folks that watch this channel are also in the blackout life. And it's good for people to see that that can be the case, but there's nothing to worry about. Generally, when you have those kinds of spots on you when you're healing, they'll go away. They might not be as dark, but that's easy enough to touch up. Now, obviously I had another session on my chest, this being session 20, and got a lot done. So we basically fixed up. My chief concern out of everything for this chest piece at the moment was some of the smaller tentacles were getting lost. I'm not afraid to give myself critique. I give tattoos critique all the time on Remy Reacts. I do more damage to myself, trust me. Any little thing that anyone out there has thought about this chest piece along the way, I've thought. It's just, I generally will have an answer for it. I'll generally have the solution or like the next step in mind. A lot of people wouldn't. A lot of people will have a tattoo they really like, and that's the end of it. They're not looking at it like a make-work project or something that can always get a little better. But for me, this piece isn't finished until it's pretty well perfect in my imagination or my estimation, whatever the case. Whatever the subject matter is, it has to be what it is, as clear as it can be. We purposely went for something that was incredibly elaborate and hard to understand, and no one understands what it is still. I've had people at points think this was the Predator, a butterfly. I've had people think it's an octopus. Really, it's, I guess it can be whatever you want it to be, but it speaks to me the limited imagination of a lot of people. It's not like it's something that's never been done before, but this is a Lovecraft creature. That's what it was. I don't really care that a lot of people don't know those stories or like haven't seen, you know, YouTube videos talking about those creatures or anything like that, but it's more like cosmic horror. It's kind of like a brain bug or like a brain monster. Anyway, it doesn't really matter that a lot of people can't see. What matters is that the elements are all there and clear. So my chief concern for this last session was getting these tentacles distinguished and getting them broken apart. So now we have a thick, bold outline, and we redid the yellow and the blue. That was it though. It looks like all the other colors were done too, but that's not the case. We just did the yellow and the blue again, because if you get all the other colors, if you get some of the colors brighter, it will bring the other colors up too. And red covers black really easily, so we didn't really need to redo the red or the orange. When these colors peel, they'll be of a similar tone, but they won't be less defined like they were, because we've got that bold outline in there now. And as we already know, the best thing to use over black, and I've shown this, is black. It's not the white, it's not color without black, white without black doesn't work that well. So having a proper thick outline, I think was the right call, because we had such a thin outline on them. I think Rick wanted them to look less like illustrative, more realistic. But I just told them they're getting lost. They're hard to understand for me, which means they're going to be impossible to understand for most people, especially when my work is being viewed under a lens and on display all the time. And a lot of people are using this as their standard bearer for whether color on black will work. We need things to be distinguishable. So for anyone out there that was thinking, oh, I can't tell what that is, that's fine. I didn't expect everybody to, but there's this weird juxtaposition between what I've been doing on my right arm and what I'm doing on my chest, where it's like, one of them is far too simple. People are angry because it's roses. They don't understand why it's just roses. Why would you go with roses? And then there's my chest that everyone's like, oh, that's way too complicated. Why did they go that? It's like, if you get into the game of pleasing everyone, no one's gonna be happy. I like both styles. So with that being said, this was session 20. Now, I don't think we're anywhere near done. I still think we've got 3 or 4 more sessions here before we're done. And then that will be whatever touch-ups or whatever down the road. I'm not expecting this to age poorly. A lot of people out there probably are. It's okay. It's not going to. So that's not an opinion, that's a fact. We've done the infrastructure on it so that it will age like any other color tattoo, which means it will fade but not completely vanish. That being said, that was, you know, a lot of work to get to that point. So Rick wants to get started on the other sleeve, and I don't think we're ready to leave the chest yet, but we have talked about this, and what we're going to do is we're going to work on the sleeve next week, and then we're going to come back to the chest periodically, because I still think we need to pound some dark black in behind the brain here, and the lower part here was only done once. These colors were only done once, and so I think those need to go again. And then there were parts of the face that we didn't get to in one session. We finished all of this side and not all of this side, so they're not quite parallel. They're not quite, it's not like I want them to be symmetrical, but they're not at the same level of color. It's okay if they're not perfectly symmetrical, but this one's not as saturated as this side. So that would be at least a session to do all of what I want to do. The brain is looking great now. I think the only reason why the brain doesn't stand out the way that the bottom does, or the face does, is the brain isn't bordered with Panthera yet. And I found that whatever you leave of that dynamic in the balance, the negative space, if you leave any of that, it just drags the whole piece down. So an FYI for anyone looking to do white on black, black on black, or color on black, if you don't saturate the entire area, you're not gonna have long-lasting success. Any of this negative space looks too close to the tone that you separate it from. So you need to bust apart all the tones. Like these roses have no dynamic black in them, same as this. And so they're able to stand out. The red, white, and black all working together, that's what you need. So we did about 3 hours on this, and I think it was 3 hours spent well. This chest has been, to date, between 50 and 60 hours of work. So again, not the fast route to success going this way, but I do believe that had I lasered it, and this just for comparison's sake, I would have taken a hell of a lot longer, because it takes many sessions of laser to get rid of a tattoo to a point where you can cover it through traditional sense. So it's not a flat win for laser by any means. Like I'm saying, I think work over black might be the quicker route there, which is insane to think with people thinking that it's impossible to do to begin with. I've crossed the threshold now that I've been alluding to for a while now, where I'm a lot farther ahead on my TikTok and Instagram. Well, no, my Instagram's pretty far behind. Let's be honest, I hate Instagram. But I've crossed the threshold of people don't expect that this won't work anymore. They just don't like it now. So I've found some humor in my tattoo journey along the way, as I've talked about before, where even on the podcast, as far back as when I was doing the podcast, it's like, no matter what you do, someone's unhappy. Like, when I was blacking out my first suit, it was like, oh man, why would you get rid of that full color suit? That's such cool work, even when some parts of it weren't good. People were unhappy that I was covering that. Then it's when I start doing the suit over it, it's like, oh, well, white won't work over black. Oh, you can't put black over black. That'll be mush in a day. Nope. Nope, none of that happened. Nope, not at all. Nothing is gone. It's all still there. Even my original lines of my first black on black we did 3 years ago, they're still there. So that was bullshit. White on black, that was bullshit. Color on black, that was bullshit. So it's all bullshit. All of that was bullshit. I don't know if it's that people are too lazy to do it or what the case is, but the big discovery for me was just discovering almost every time I was told something wouldn't work, it just worked. There was no magic to it. And it really just made me dislike the tattoo community more and more as time went on, and continues to, because it's like anytime you tried to do something, you were told it wouldn't work, or that it's photoshopped, or there's a lot of editing, or a filter, or a polarized lens, or whatever the fuck other thing. When it's standing right in front of them, it's like, oh, well, he must have had some fucking laser or something. Anyway, now the whole thing has changed from that won't work to, I don't like what you did. You should have kept it black. There were no voices like that when I started this. And it's not because I ended up with this brain monster on my chest either. If I had done a fucking blacking or like a color bear, they would have been angry too. It would have been like, oh, it's fucking crash. You should have left it black. The people who say those things, they're always going to be unhappy in general. And you shouldn't use those opinions as a barometer of whether something's good or bad, because it didn't matter what I was doing. Now, if I black this out, there's going to be people screaming at me that that's a bad idea. Like, you should have kept the color, it was great. That's going to happen no matter what you do. People have a weird attachment to people and things that aren't even theirs. Like, people have more attachment to my suit than I've ever had. I've had people say, when I die, my body should be in a modern art museum, that kind of thing. But it's like, it's their version of it. It's not whatever I want it to be. It's like, there's this point in my journey, my tattoo journey, that everybody really loved, where I had like my arms blacked out completely, and I had the roses here blacked out. My neck was blacked out, but the indiscernible tentacles on my stomach weren't. That mess that I had on my stomach, which was the worst part of my first suit, that was still there. And for whatever reason, that was people's favorite version of my suit. It was also the worst done version of it too, and that's not arguable. Those tentacles were barely shaded and the lines were barely in. There was all kinds of crazy shit going on in the stomach. There was a big red star on my belly, you know, like it just all kinds of insanity. Some Grim Reaper hands ripping through my flesh. Like, it was all stuff I cobbled together over many years of not being able to afford to get tattooed, all in a big concept. So I kind of cobbled it together. Anyway, that suit was literal bullshit. That stuff was literal bullshit. Some of it was done well, some of it was done terribly, and it was all pushed together. But for whatever reason, that was a lot of people's favorite version of my suit. Even then, like, I never had my tattoo suit trend harder on social media than when it looked like that. And that was only for like a week or two. So there's no accounting for taste. It wouldn't have mattered what this ended up looking like. Someone would have been unhappy with it. I could have done big bold roses on my chest. Then it would have been too simple. You blacked out all your old tattoos just to do roses? No, asshole, my old tattoo suit had way more roses than this one does. I guess what I'm trying to say here is, and I don't really care that this is coming across as a rant, because in a way I feel like I've succeeded at proving my point, and that's made people unhappy. And now they're coming at me with lines like, well, of course you can cover it, but why'd you choose that? What do you mean, fucker? What do you mean, of course you can cover it? Literally, the same asshole was the same guy that would have been telling me, you know, 6 months ago that I wouldn't be able to draw a fucking starfish over top of my blackout chest. Because that's what those people were saying before. What they say will change, but the spirit from which it's said will remain the same. This suit is going to be full color. This time next year when I'm talking to you, I'm going to be a colorful boy. There's no stopping that. It doesn't really matter that there's going to be people resenting me for it, because those are the same swine that would be resenting me if I covered that with black. So if you're on the precipice of doing something interesting and cool, and you're not doing it because you're afraid of what people are going to think, those people are going to say horrible things about whatever you do. If you sit in your house and eat Cheetos and bother no one, they're going to be angry at you. If you exist, someone's going to be upset with what you're doing. That's just life. And I've figured that out more than probably most people ever will have to, but I've lost and gained support for various decisions that I've made along the way, and none of that was tied to anything I was doing. That was tied to the person supporting or disliking it. It never had anything to do with my choices. So just do your thing and know that no matter what you do, you're not going to make everyone happy. You know, on my TikTok, I'm standing in front of 1.1 million people whenever I make a post. What are the chances everyone's going to like what you're doing? Same thing on my Instagram. When it was smaller, everybody liked what I was doing, but now it's gotten to a place where probably half of my following is haters. It's ridiculous to think of, but it's a reality. So you got to get used to doing things, whether people like them or not, as long as you like them, but do them to a high level, right? Like, this will be the greatest version of a giant, ugly squid monster that I can possibly make it. It's the right size. All the elements will stand out. It will be a sticker, like I said some weeks ago. But that doesn't mean everyone's going to like it. It doesn't matter if it's done well. Because like I said, my old bodysuit, parts of that were done very poorly. And tons and tons of people said they liked it. So there's no accounting for taste, folks. That being said, I'm keeping my left sleeve a secret. I have all this time. I'm not planning on spoiling it now. I even thought about not doing a vlog next week when I started, because I got kind of tired and sick of the bullshit that I listened to, even on this channel in the comments. And I know people are going to say, Remy, don't listen to the comments. Who cares about the comments? I don't really think that most people can follow me. I don't think most people can understand me until I get there. If I had showed up one day with this piece, I wouldn't have had... I had people literally unfollow me when I did the lines of this thing. Literally unfollow me. You're not going to be able to pull that off. And then they get into arguments with other people and get people getting angry about it. It's like, I don't know that it's for the best to show these things in motion anymore, because it just causes such weird fear and like panic. If I show up with an outline on my sleeve next week, people are going to be like, oh, well, are you going to fucking pull that off? It looks like shit. It's like, we've learned nothing. Anyway, yeah, it's been an experience. The chess piece has been a polarizing piece for my audience, and it's probably made me resent all forms of social media. That and the roses too. That on a lower note, but it's probably been the most resent I've had from my social media has been this part, and it's a little disgusting. So I appreciate the people who've been happy that I've been showing this journey off. I appreciate the people who have been supporting me along the way. There have been a lot of them. I'm not meaning this to come off overly harsh on you guys, but this is a mixed bag for me, and I don't know that I need this. I definitely don't need this. I would have been doing it anyway. There are people out there that think, oh, well, Remy just does this for attention, and oh, well, he's got a problem. He's just crying for help. No, I would be doing this quite happily without any social media. And that may end up being the way it goes for a long time here, because too many rotten apples can spoil the bunch. And there's been a few rotten apples. So anyway, I'll likely talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.